I started the video.
Someone take a picture.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. We're going to convene our regular village council meeting. This is our Monday, February 13th, 2023 regular village council meeting. We begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. If you're able, please rise. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Okay, Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Commissioner Burns,
Here.
Commissioner Maxim,
Here.
Commissioner Nero.
Here.
Commissioner Vogt.
Here.
Mayor Hoskins.
Here. Okay, approval of the minutes. Is there a motion to approve the January 23rd regular village council meeting minutes?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Maxam. Is there a second?
Nero second.
And seconded by Commissioner Nero. Discussion? Okay, if there's no discussion, Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Commissioner Burns.
Aye.
Commissioner Maxim,
Aye.
Commissioner Nero,
Aye.
Commissioner Vogt.
Aye.
Mayor Hoskins.
Aye. Okay, next is the approval of the special village council meeting minutes from January 23rd. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Maxim. Is there a second?
Nero was second.
It's been seconded by Commissioner Nero. Discussion? Okay, there's no discussion. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Burns,
Aye.
Commissioner Maxim,
Aye.
Commissioner Nero.
Aye.
Commissioner Vogt.
Aye.
Mayor Hoskins.
Aye. Okay, next motion to approve the January 23rd closed session meeting minutes. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
It's been moved by Commissioner Maxim. Is there a second?
For the sweep, Nero will make that motion.
Okay,
Or second,
moved
excuse me.
and
We'll
seconded.
second.
and sweeping fashion. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Burns.
Aye.
Commissioner Maxim,
Aye.
Commissioner Nero,
Aye.
Commissioner Vogt.
Aye.
Mayor Hoskins.
Aye. Okay, I think we're at public comment. Do we have any public comments tonight?
Yes. Bridget Lane. Is that mic on? You know, I'm not sure if that's on.
There's a green light.
Okay.
Is this working? Okay. Thank you very much. I'm here on behalf of the Forest Park Chamber of Commerce, and we're here in support of, I believe it's item D of the new business. We've been working for quite a while to make sure that we get the latest and greatest and newest of businesses on Madison. And we had a discussion at the board meeting about our support for the addition of a dispensary, which I believe has been announced in the paper, so it's no hidden. And I'd just like to read a quick statement that I also gave to each of you so that you'll understand the position of the board. And I am here in replace of Lori Kokinis, so any of you that want to send condolences, her brother passed away. So I said, I'll do anything for you, Lori, and I'll go to that I'll go to that meeting of the commissioners. So anyway, in early 2022, the Village of Forest Park reached out to our board of directors to ask for our input as to whether a marijuana dispensary should be allowed in our village. After much discussion, it was agreed that a dispensary is in the right location would be beneficial to the village. It was discussed and agreed that Madison Street was the right location. The board unanimously supports a favorable vote by the council to accept the zoning board's recommendation to make a marijuana dispensary a permitted use on Madison Street. However, we respectfully request that the council amend the zoning board's recommendation to allow only one dispensary to be permitted in the downtown business district. Respectfully, the chamber does not want two dispensaries on Madison Street, or 3 or 4 or 5. And we are aware that a dispensary is now under contract for the Doc Ryan's property, and we support a dispensary at this location. As always, we value the strong relationship we share with our local elected officials and the Village of Forest Park as a whole. Your ongoing support is greatly appreciated as we look forward to working with you on current and future initiatives. So I'd be happy to answer any questions, but I should have introduced myself as a member of the board of the Forest Park Chamber in addition to the other things. So,
We don't have any questions,
good.
and thank you, Bridget.
Okay.
Is there another public comment?
No.
Oh. Okay, I guess that's the last public comment. So there are no formal communications. There are no department reports submitted.
He's trying to talk, but he didn't turn in a sheet. Okay, come on up. Thank you. It's John Simpson.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. My name is John Simpson. I'm here today on behalf of Kirk Carpenter from Concordia Cemetery. He was unable to make it to this the hearing today. So I do apologize. I know every commissioner and the mayor, and I believe the millage administrator and director of public safety all received a letter from my office as well as Mr. Carpenter related to the electronic billboards that are alongside I-290 and a proposal that's coming forward. I don't see it on the agenda. I didn't want to belay that point, but there are some items that we feel are going to involve the village. Specifically, Concordia may be considering a proposal that would require zoning relief from the municipality. At this time, it's a little early because we know Concordia is somewhat caught in the crosshairs between the CTA and two other billboard companies. But at this moment, I just wanted to make myself available if there are any questions, just to give an oversight of what we're looking to do. But Concordia Cemetery does have a particular zoning designation that makes a proposal that we've received a possibility. And so we just wanted to make sure that the board wasn't taking action today on another matter that would foreclose that possibility for Concordia Cemetery. I will remain here for after the evening as well if anyone has any questions. I believe Commissioner Vogt, I think that's your department when it comes to signs based on what I read online. But if it's possible, I'd be happy to answer any questions related to the matter or what we might ask for in the future. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk, for letting me.
You're welcome.
Okay, so we're moving down to bills by resolution. Madam Clerk, whenever you're ready.
Be it resolved by the Council of the Village of Forest Park, Cook County, Illinois, that we dispense with the reading of the individual bills inasmuch as each department head has approved and signed bills in the following aggregate amount for the respective departments. Refunds and allocations, $251. Public Affairs, $79,019.51. Police Department, $1,265.63. Community Center, $42.35. Accounts and Finance Clerk's Office, $171,520.39. Accounts and Finance Fire Department, $41,915.71. Department of Health and Safety, $9,082.16. Street Department, $103,490.01. Public Property, $54,681.98. Seizure, $218.82. Federal Customs, $12,771.86. Fleet Replacement, $320.06. TIF, $2,449.74. VIP, $9,599.51. Water Department, $23,198.08, for a total of $509,826.81.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Commissioners, is there a motion to adopt the resolution on the bills?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Burns. Is there a second?
A second.
It's been seconded by Commissioner Maxim. Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Burns,
Aye.
Commissioner Maxim,
Aye.
Commissioner Nero.
Aye.
Commissioner Vogt.
Aye.
Mayor Hoskins.
Aye.
This is Resolution R-08-23.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. There is no unfinished business tonight, Commissioners. So moving down to new business, the first item before us is a presentation by the village's consulting engineers. Travis?
Thank you, Mayor.
Travis Perry from Christopher Burke Engineering, here to provide a presentation for the village's annual public meeting regarding their NPDS MS4 permit. So what is NPDS? That's the National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System. It's a federally mandated program to control point sources which discharge pollutants to receiving waters, in this case, in the village. So it's point sources such as pipes, man-made things that we've made to convey the stormwater, ditches, pipes. It's not for individual homes, and it's not for any industrial, municipal, or other facilities. Anybody has any questions while I'm speaking, feel free to speak up. So, what is phase two? And so the Clean Water Act amendments of 1987 required the US EPA to address stormwater in two different phases. Phase one was for large and medium MS4s, and then phase two was for small MS4s. So you can see that the definition of the large MS4 is 250,000 or over. Medium was 100,000 to 249.99. And then small MS4s are the one like, excuse me, ones like the village. So that's regulated for populations of 50,000 or those located in an urbanized area. So phase one versus phase two. 1972 was the landmark legislation of the Clean Water Act to preserve and protect the nation's waterways. 1990, that's when the phase one for the large municipalities was implemented. In 1999, the small MS4s was finalized, and then in 2003, excuse me, the first notice of intent for the small MS4s was prepared. So I mentioned an urbanized area. So what is an urbanized area? So it's land compromising one or more places, so a collection of communities around a particular dense area. So 50,000 or more, like I said, or 1,000 per square mile. So in the United States, that equates to 464 urbanized areas. And then in Illinois, there are about 670 of those communities. So you can see here on the map how they break down, obviously, around urban populations on the East Coast. Not really working there, but on the East Coast and the West Coast. And then in Illinois, that's primarily around the Chicagoland region and then down by St. Louis. So that's where the urbanized areas are in Illinois. And I keep using the term MS4. So what is an MS4? It's a municipal separate storm sewer system. So that's the collection of pipes, man-made types of things that convey stormwater. It's not a combined sewer and it's not part of a public owned treatment works. So that's in this community, the pipes, storm sewers, curbs, all those different types of things, the wetlands, the streams, all those make up the storm sewer network. But other MS4s, so not necessarily the village, but there's highway departments, universities, local storm sewers, hospitals, anybody that has pipes and types of systems to collect stormwater is also MS4s. So the gist of why we're here, right? So the village, the NPDS permit requires that they regulate all discharges inside the municipal boundaries. So that's construction sites, commercials, industrial, private residences, and then of course, anything that the village does. So it's a big ask by the federal government that anything that happens inside Forest Park, you guys are responsible for. So that's really the point of tonight's presentation, that everybody understands that. So what does the permit require? There's about 14 different pages, but I'll try to summarize it here real quick for you. So develop a NPDS program, so a stormwater management program plan that addresses these 6 minimum control measures, which I'll get to in a minute. Prepare and submit a notice of intent. So that is what you intend to do to control your program. Submit an annual report to the IEPA regarding the status of your permit, an annual public meeting, which is what we're covering tonight. And then of course, making sure you pay your annual fee. So the 6 minimum control measures that I mentioned that the village is required to implement are listed here: the public education and outreach, the public participation and involvement, illicit discharge detection and elimination, construction site runoff control, post-construction site runoff control, and then the pollution prevention good housekeeping, which is what the village does itself with its own employees to make sure they don't contribute to pollution. So the permit itself, it's updated every 5 years. As I mentioned previously, the first round was 2003 to 2008. It's continued in 5-year cycles ever since then. The last one expired at the end of February in 2021, and the EPA has not issued a new permit, but it's likely to happen this March is the word on the street. So these are each of the minimum control measures, and then a couple examples of what the village does to meet those goals. So for the public education and outreach, we use brochures and newsletters on the website. The public can download or view to learn about stormwater. the public involvement and participation. So that's trash collection at community events, the annual public meeting like we're having tonight. The public can hear about it. Provide the opportunity to ask questions. Illicit discharge detection and elimination. So that's outfall inspections of the storm sewers to make sure they're not discharging illicit materials. Storm sewer map. So that's a map of the entire village showing where those outfalls go. Regulatory programs and enforcement. So that's the ordinances on the books to make sure that you guys can enforce people from stopping or enforce people to stop illicit discharges. This is an example of the cleanup activity that just happened last fall. So this is a good example of some minimum control measures that the village is doing. The last three minimum control measures are the construction site runoff control. So plan reviews, making sure that the developments are doing what they're supposed to regarding runoff, inspecting those developments, and the same thing for the post-construction, again, reviewing the plans and making sure they were doing and then following up with inspections. And then the pollution prevention, good housekeeping is training staff on what they need to know regarding NPDS, inspecting their own facilities, and then making sure any time a project is happening inside the village, they're following their own rules. So that's the minimum control measures there. And that in short is the annual public meeting for the village's program. So if anybody has any questions regarding that, I'd be happy to take them. If not, I would see you in 2024.
Are there any questions, commissioners? Thank you, Travis. Thank you, Jim. Okay, next we'll have a presentation by the village's engineer, Jim Emilio, and he'll preview our 2023 infrastructure plan. Jim?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Board. Pleasure to be here. Talk about the 2023 infrastructure plan. Bear with me for a second. Is it? Okay. Yeah, I'm not seeing the same thing on my screen here. So just a little background. We had started the infrastructure plan in 2017 and put together a 5-year plan. That 5-year plan ran 2018 through 2022. The plan consisted of alley, roadway, and water main improvements, and that was based on a recent assessment of all of the village's infrastructure. We've prepared our 2023 plan based on the same criteria, addressing the poor rated streets, water main, and alleys. Moving forward, we intend to create a 3-year plan, which would encompass calendar years 2024, 2025, and 2026. So jumping into the projects that we have for 2023, what you see here is a map of the improvements on the north side of town. And then we have a nice exhibit of the improvements on the south side of town. And I'll run through what all of those projects are here. So in no particular order, we have the 2023 water main and street project. On the first column, first row, the estimated total project cost of that is just over $2.9 million. We intend to pay for that using MFT fund and more specifically rebuild bond fund, which is administered through IDOT. So that'll be $933,000 from that fund. And then the balance, a little bit over $2 million, will come out of the village's water fund. The second project that we have on the list is the 15th Street sewer separation. That total project cost is $467,000. We are currently under contract for that, and the work will start this probably this March or April at the latest. We're using $107,000 out of the water fund, and we're getting $360,000 from the Community Development Block Grant, or CDBG, administered through Cook County. Third project that we have scheduled for this year is the Van Buren Street multi-path improvements. That project's just a little bit over 500, or it is $582,000, 334,000 coming out of the VIP, and 247,000 and change coming from Invest in Cook grant that we received last year. The next two projects are the North Water Tower painting and the South Water Tower painting. As you may recall, the South Water Tower is mostly completed. We painted that last year. There is some final work that we have to do down there, and installing a fence and a little bit of cleanup. On the North Tower, that project is partially underway, and we anticipate completing that this spring. So the North Tower is $987,000 coming out of the Brown TIF, and the South Tower coming out of the Roosevelt TIF is $80,000. Next, we have the commuter bike facility project that's installing some bike shelters and bike racks. One of them is at the CTA station, at the Blue Line CTA parking lot across the street there. And the other is at the northwest corner of Harrison and Harlem. So that total project cost is $112,000. We're using $11,000 out of the VIP fund for the village's match, and we're getting $101,000 from ITEP funds through the state. Moving down the list, we have alley reconstruction. Okay, so alley reconstruction, we had two alleys. You can see they're both on the south side of town. One is the Dunlop Lathrop Alley, just north of Harvard, and the other is the Circle Marengo Alley, just south of Fillmore, so between Fillmore and Roosevelt. Those would be reconstructed in typical Portland cement concrete. We are going to be applying for green alleys this coming year, and we anticipate that we'll get that funding for green alleys, which would be the 800 and 900 blocks of Circle Marengo Alley. So we're optimistic that we have a good chance of getting funding for that in the future. So right now, within the 2023 program, $546,000 for doing those two alleys, of which $376,000 come out of VIP and $170,000 comes out of the water fund, addressing the sewer or drainage improvements on that project. Last project that I have on this slide, sorry if I go forward here, is the lead service planning and IEPA loan. So we've approached IEPA and submitted a planning report requesting funding to replace lead services throughout the village. It is a very competitive process. So the money in there, this 19,000, involves our involvement in following up with them and trying to acquire grant money for lead service replacement. All right, moving along, we have a few more projects left on the list here. We have the North and South Water Tower paving. So as a separate standalone project, we want to pave the asphalt underneath both of those water towers, which was not included in the painting of those. So between the two towers, we are anticipating about $66,000 will cover the cost for resurfacing the parking areas next to it. And those will come out of both of the Brown and Roosevelt TIFs respectively. We also have some maintenance that we will be doing on the current green alleys that we have. So we have estimated $18,000 coming out of the VIP fund. We have community center parking lot resurfacing. That's $102,000 coming out of VIP. We have a sidewalk replacement project, $48,000 out of the VIP fund. We also have Madison Street upgrades. So that's Madison Street from Des Plaines over to Harlem, and that's making various improvements to the existing infrastructure that's out there, the site furniture, the street lights, and so forth. And then the last project that I have on the chart here is the 2023 capital projects design. So they'll be designing projects this year for 2024 construction. So we've penciled in $150,000 in anticipation of a fairly robust program in 2024. So for those of you that were paying attention to the exhibits, I did not mention anything about Des Plaines Avenue or Roosevelt Road in any of our costs. And that is because we're not paying for them. The state is resurfacing both of those roads. They are under contract with two contractors. They opened bids a couple of weeks ago, so they anticipate doing work on Des Plaines and on Roosevelt. So that's Des Plaines from Madison all the way down to Roosevelt, and then Roosevelt is from Des Plaines all the way east. And for everybody's information, actually continues east through Oak Park and towards the city. So both of those projects should be starting in March or April of this spring. So if I come back here to the last slide, we have some totals. So our estimated totals for 2023 infrastructure would be $6.4 million, and I'm rounding this. VIP, $1.3 million, MFT, $933,000, water, $2.3 million, TIF, $1.1 million, and we're getting over $700,000 of grant funding. So with that, I wanted to say thank you to Village Administrator Moses Amade, Public Works Director Sal Stella, Finance Director Tish Olmsted, and Commissioner Nero for all of their efforts. I'm sorry, and Rachel Entler, I don't know, is she here tonight? Oh, there you are, hiding in the corner. For all of their help and assistance in pulling together this plan. So with that, I will await any questions.
Any questions, commissioners?
Yeah, one question. So has it been our history, like, in previous years that we've looked at this every year and it's been a 5-year plan? And I noticed that you said when we sat down, we talked about making it a 3-year plan. And this will be the first time that we sit down and do a 3-year plan. Is that not right?
So that would be correct. So we just completed a 5-year plan. Previous to that, we had a 5-year
Yeah.
plan. Prior to that, we went annually and just did, year by year. 3-year plan, towards the end of the 5-year plan, you always start to kind of have to massage the projects around as budgets change throughout the course of time. 5 years is a long time. This last 5-year infrastructure plan got, I'll say, sidetracked with some COVID and budget constraints. So we did not complete everything that was on our list. The good news is that's on our list for, 2023 and beyond. So, but yeah, 3 years seems like a appropriate amount of time where we can stay closely within the proposed plan.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, if there are no more questions, then Jim, we appreciate your presentation. Go ahead, Moses.
So a couple of things to note in further down in the packet in the presentation. There's some indication of things that we've got waiting on grant applications. So some potential future projects are noted there based on the receipt of those grants. So as Jim said, we're anticipating of doing 2 green alleys in 2024. Those are already engineered from what I understand. So those will be shovel ready, assuming we do get that assistance from the MWRD next year. Secondly, we've talked a few times about Des Plaines Avenue. I know Department of Public Works has a concern about the water main on Des Plaines Avenue. Des Plaines was last paved in about 2009, 2010. So what that means is in 10 years from now, we are going to have to start planning that entire route of water main replacement. There is lead along that route. It will be required to be replaced in the future. So that is going to be a big ticket item that we will have to start planning for now. The next time that Des Plaines gets repaved in 10 years, we have to do the water main. It's important to know about the lead, where it's going to make it a little bit more difficult for us to start planning roads, and especially putting new asphalt, in some cases concrete, in some cases we do have brick roads. on how we invest our money and how we plan. Because as we learned last year, we didn't want to pave Van Buren Street when we had lead services underneath the road. So that was an opportunity that we did get a grant for Van Buren. We took care of the lead services. Van Buren's paved. We can walk away from that road for 20 years. The lead issue is a big issue, and Commissioner Nero, I'm going to turn it over to you if you don't mind about our discussions about the lead. As Jim mentioned, we are applying for grants to replace the lead services in town. There was a first round of Illinois EPA assistance last year that we were not successful at getting, and a lot of towns were not successful in getting. We've got about $20 million worth of replacement in town for lead. What I'm hearing is, municipalities are going to be on the hook for those lead replacements. I know in the past, we've looked at cost shares with the homeowner. It's a very, very tough issue. Should we receive this Illinois EPA assistance, we are not allowed to require the homeowner to pay for anything. So it turns into an issue of equity. It turns into an issue of fairness. I'm hearing from a lot of our colleagues, I'm checking with mine. Jim's checking with his colleagues, Sal's checking with his colleagues. What is everyone doing? And right now what the plan entails is, the numbers that you're seeing on the water main project include the lead service replacements. So that is another issue that we're gonna have to contend with on how to fund that. But again, the tough variable that makes this very, very complicated is Illinois state law, that if we do get assistance, and we have to use that assistance on the full replacement, we cannot require a homeowner to pay. And I know we've gone through this many, many times, and it's the conversation goes around and around. So I'll just turn it to you if you just have any thoughts about that.
Well, I think you covered it perfectly. The trick here is when you put a shovel in the ground and you touch the water mains or the services, you have to replace it. That's the deal. And it's not a cheap undertaking. So if you think about any of the water mains and the work that we've done, you saw the proposal for 2023 put before you tonight. It's an ambitious program. And there's a lot of planning and a lot of effort that goes into selecting the projects that we are going to tackle as a community, as a village here, with limited resources. And so if you're hearing anything tonight, whether it's lead service replacement or selecting the right projects that we want to tackle from an infrastructure standpoint, what should really stand out is the fact that we're doing the best that we can with grants and the money that we have available to us. But like you heard in the beginning, if there's additional sources of revenue that are out there, such as, marijuana dispensaries, those are certainly a market that we could tap as a village to try to promote some well-needed revenue in the Village of Forest Park to help fund some of these projects, especially lead abatement, because it's not something that we can avoid, because if we want to improve our infrastructure, there's an absolute must that has to happen. And we have 4 years? 4 years to get them all done, I think it is, right? 2020, what is it, 28 or 27? I'm sorry.
So the time frame that you have to replace the lead surfaces based on the quantity that you have. So based on the number of lead surfaces in the Village of Forest Park, you'll have 17 years to replace all of them.
Okay.
Which means that you need to replace 6% a year. And the EPA has those milestones that they want to see progress on that.
Got it.
And that starts, I believe, in 2024 is when that 17-year period starts.
Thank you.
I have two questions. Jim, Des Plaines Avenue is a state route, correct?
Correct.
So when they're going to do Des Plaines Avenue, do they just pave it? Or do they replace pipes and sewers along the way also, if it is a state route?
So the state is just doing resurfacing. They're focusing on removing the asphalt and putting it back in.
Okay, but if there's sewer work to be done, we have to eat that price? Or if it's on state property, then I would have thought that they would have to replace.
Looking at the plans and reviewing them, they did not include any sewer work. So there will be, I'll say minor sewer work, adjustment of frames and lids to meet the new pavement. But they're not putting in any new sewer pipes or replacing any of the existing sewer pipes.
Okay.
We're aware of some. We did speak to IDOT about the sewers, which they own. We did ask them to jet them, to take a hard look at certain areas where I know Sal's reported flooding in the past. So kind of like what we do now, that before we pave a road, we do a full analysis. We've pointed things out to them to take care of the sewer. We've also talked about on how in certain areas, especially where the bus stops are, the pavement is failing. Luckily we've got Google Maps where you can kind of see a history of those failures. Where we've got a lot of pictures in time over a course of certain years where you can't just repave the road and just put down binder. You have to dig down to the base to repair. So we have pointed out issues to them to take care of while they're out here. Obviously, the water main is ours and we'll be on the hook for that in 10 years.
I just wanted to make sure that they're aware of the sewer problems we have along there.
Just, yeah, one last point. So with the Desplaines, with the mill and fill or resurfacing on Desplaines Avenue, going right past our fire department, our village hall and our police department. And then we also have a proposal in spring for Wilcox with a water main that's going to disrupt the in and outs to village hall and also our fire department and police department for that matter. So do we have, from a planning standpoint, I guess it's really a layup or a softball for you, but do we have some staggered controls in there to allow for access and egress?
Yes, so we do on our end, the state is their own company or agency, so we don't have as much control over the state project. However, we are aware of who the contractor is, who will likely get awarded the contract. I've reached out to them to start a dialogue so that we can make sure that we work together with them and have both the projects become a success.
Very good. Thank you, sir.
All right, Jim, I think that's it in terms of questions. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, commissioners, we are going to skip item C and move on to item D. So at this point, we have an ordinance amending section 9-4C-2 of Title 9. This is text amendment from the Planning and Zoning Commission. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Hey, it's been moved by Commissioner Maxam. Is there a second?
Nero, second.
Okay, it's been seconded by Commissioner Nero. Discussion. All right, commissioners, I'll say a couple of words about this. We had Bridget Lane representing the chamber a little earlier to read a letter urging the village council to adopt the zoning text amendment. And of course, social media has indicated that 7432 Madison Street, building that is currently the bar known as Doc Ryan's, is under contract. And so there is a social equity licensee proposing to open a cannabis dispensary at that location. This licensee has been looking at the location for several months now. We've had a history of talking to different would-be operators about Madison Street. We previously had one operator with a building under contract, but it turned out to not be the right location. This amendment was actually adopted by the Zoning and Planning Commission back in May, when we anticipated that a prior licensee wanted to close on a building in Forest Park. But like I indicated, that it turned out to not be the right fit for that location. And the owner of 7432 Madison has had the building on the market for a while. It's operated as a bar for decades, I think, in Forest Park. I don't know how profitable it's been. And so he entered into contract a while back. So this proposed dispensary would employ about 25 to 30 individuals. And they've shared with us some information about how the facility would be run. The hours would be from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. They stress some of the security requirements that the state places on all dispensary operators. For instance, security personnel are required inside the premises, excuse me, and then outside as well, touching the perimeter. I've actually seen some downtown locations where a security guard sits outside on the sidewalk, but at the nearest facility to us, the facility in Oak Park, I believe they stay inside the premises the entire time. I've never seen security personnel outside the MedMen in Oak Park on Lake Street. And I believe that's the most comparable location to what we could expect. They have a state-of-the-art camera system in all of these facilities. According to what they've provided, just about every inch, excluding the bathrooms, is under surveillance. That data is kept for about 90 days and then disposed of unless there's some kind of incident. And then they also have external cameras that the industry indicates provides additional security for the surrounding area, whether it's businesses or residential. And these cameras are remotely accessible by state regulators, including the Illinois Department of Financial and Professional Regulation and the state police. So they provide some information about the actual internal operations. They anticipate, given the size of this location, that they could have 10 to 12 point of sale stations. You may recall that when the state first allowed recreational cannabis and there were a small number of dispensaries, the lines often stretched around the corner. So they've kind of gotten a little bit wiser about how they control sales and whatnot. And so they try to move people along. And then they also added that pre-order sales are now very common in these dispensaries. And so people can basically walk in, pick up their order and walk out. So that's really all I had to say about, the physical location. And so I don't know if this board has any reaction or any comment. Commissioner Maxim?
I have a few things to say. Earlier, Commissioner Nero talked about limited resources that we have in this village, and I think that's a really important thing for us to be aware of at all times. We have very limited resources. An opportunity to have a dispensary in town would bring in a lot of money that we really need to do important, meaningful work in this town. It's incredibly rare that a new revenue stream like this becomes available. And before I was on the council, the council here did a really great job putting zoning in place to make our village really attractive to dispensaries that wanted to come in. And this amendment just makes it kind of opens the door a little bit wider to dispensaries wanting to open up on Madison Street. So instead of it being a conditional use, it's going to be permitted. And I think that's a really important, cannabis friendly move that will make things, easier for somebody to come in here and help us get the revenue that we need. And like the mayor said, dispensaries are highly, highly regulated by the state. They have top-notch security. They're clean. They operate within specific hours. And I think this is a really big step forward economically for Forest Park. I would also like to, I mean, I guess now would be the time to do it. I want to address what the chamber said about allowing one dispensary to be permitted in the downtown business district. I think that's a good idea. I'd like to talk about that and then potentially make an amendment to my motion to vote on that as well.
Since you're the movant, if you're intending on making that motion to amend, now would be the appropriate time to do it, but you then need a second on the amendment.
Okay.
I have one question.
Yes.
Would discussion on this need to happen before that happens?
Motions to amend take precedent. So if you can discuss both of them, once the motion's on the floor for the amendment, it doesn't preclude all that happening though. So if she wants to make the motion, she's entitled to make the motion. If it fails for lack of second, or if there is a second, then both are on the floor to talk about. Okay.
Thanks.
Okay. So I'd like to amend my
Whatever
motion.
that is. Yeah. Okay.
What was that?
Okay. Whatever you're going to make, will you read it then?
Yes, I'd
Okay.
like to amend my motion to item D, ordinance amending sections 9(4)(c)(2) of Title IX regarding text amendment PZC 2022-03. To add to the section under use regulations, adult use cannabis dispensing organization in compliance with the state of Illinois Cannabis Regulation and Tax Act and meeting the parking requirement of Chapter 8 of this title, provided that no more than one adult use cannabis dispensing organization shall be permitted in the DBD.
Okay, so Commissioner Maxim has made a motion to amend the main motion. Now, is there a second?
Nero second.
Okay, so the main motion has now been amended, and as it currently exists, it would limit us to one.
Actually, the amendment needs to be voted on to make the main motion amended, but you can discuss both of them now at the same time. Okay. You can discuss now.
Commissioner Vogt.
It's weird to have these are like conflicting now. Based on some of your statements, I think we all agree that a cannabis facility would be a boon for Forest Park and bring in a lot of revenue. And I know Commissioner Maxim talked about how desperately we need that revenue. So it seems counterintuitive to then restrict cannabis shop to being just one. I think when we originally talked about zoning, we decided that conditional use would be the smartest move going forward since this was new. Because we were all in favor with it of cannabis coming to Forest Park, but we wanted to just kind of see how the rollout was going to happen, what the interest would be. And we haven't had anybody make it to the council for that approval. To me, it doesn't, it seems like we have a perfectly fine ordinance as it's written. I think most people, and I don't want to speak for y'all, but I think most of us would agree that we would welcome a cannabis facility. But it is, after listening to the chamber and their preferences, not the right move to go all out and just have it permitted use, where we have no control over how many are coming into town. But then we also don't want to limit it to just one. Potentially, there could be another interested party that is far enough away in the downtown business district that having two would be fine. By keeping it at a conditional use, that allows us some control over how this new revenue opportunity is coming into the village. So I don't think that it's the right move yet, since we haven't had any successfully come here to just go permitted use. And I also don't think we should restrict it to just one. I think we've got a great ordinance right now as it's written. And I think that we should keep it that way.
Thank you, Commissioner Vogt. You had a question, Commissioner Burns?
I do. So this would mean that the company that's trying to get permission to go into Doc Ryan, so we're changing for that one dispensary to go in there, correct?
By making it a permitted use,
Mhm.
the main ordinance, they could move in a little bit more quickly. a little bit
Okay,
more quickly.
is this the same dispensary that was going into CVS?
No.
So what happens to the CVS one? then?
So that's a separate matter. I know what you're referring to from the paper.
So-
They would still have to go through zoning.
So-
It's a different area,
Potentially, we could have two dispensaries in town.
potentially.
And then if somebody wants to open up on Des Plaines Avenue, we could have three dispensaries in town.
Well, that's
And that's
potential.
what we're allowing this to happen, right?
So we're only focused on the DBD right now. Only on the,
I kind of hope that, I would rather see the CVS in that whole corner there be used for development, and some developer comes in and takes away, Dunkin' Donuts and that, and makes a big development there for additional tax revenue. But I still can't say that if somebody wants to open up a dispensary there, you can't block him from opening it up if he passes all the zoning requirements.
Commissioner Nero.
Yeah, I didn't know if you were gonna talk. I think we're kind of all saying the same thing, right? So here, just to put some guardrails on this, it's been, we talk about how hard it's been to get a dispensary in town. We've been talking about it for over 4 years. Talking about it. So we have an opportunity right before us now to make a big decision that is well needed and overdue. So that being said, just limiting the dispensaries in the DBD is simply that. It's not limiting the amount of dispensaries that can come to town. In other words, there's other opportunities in the Village Forest Park to attract these types of businesses. So I think perhaps having one permitted use in the DBD seems reasonable and doesn't close the doors on other opportunities within the Village of Forest Park.
I think part of the reason, well, first, we've heard from the chamber, right? They support this and they want to limit it to one. And because we have a history of generally coordinating some of our economic development efforts with the chamber, I think that's reasonable. Oak Park has had the MedMen for some time now, for a number of years. It's worked out well. I don't know that anyone else has wanted to locate in that same, proximity, partly because these facilities cost a lot to build out. And so I don't necessarily think that there'll be a flood of other dispensaries, trying to go on Madison Street. But at the same time, we have the authority to control that. And if we wanted to unwind it in 5 years and allow for a second dispensary, maybe in the place of USA Liquors one day, that's a joke. Can't appear to run out the business, but we could unwind it though, correct, Council? That's all I wanted to say.
I have one more question.
Commissioner Vogt.
I know that the downtown business district has been permitted or conditional use, but we have permitted use areas in town where if a dispensary wanted to come here, they would be able to submit their paperwork and go through the process and open up and not have to come before the council for.
The I-2 is a permitted area. We set that up 3 years ago when we really didn't know too much about how this was going to work out. But in those 3 years, we've watched, like I said, MedMen, and we've watched other communities open up dispensaries, and they are making considerable money. In this case, market forces drive where businesses operate. And like I said, we had one other operator that wanted to be on Madison Street. They loved it. They were from another state. We spent considerable time with them, showing them the community, and they liked the walkability. They looked for a place that had parking. This particular operator has made a number of trips to their proposed location. And, it fits within their business model. And, this is part of economic development. Economic development really isn't a thing that you do, right? Sometimes people say they're hired to do economic development, but what economic development really is, it's a result of a number of actions you take, whether it's the right zoning laws, whether it's a history of working well with businesses, whether it's providing reliable services, installing cameras, keeping a safe community. And in this case, we have a company that wants to spend considerable money to operate in our village. And the revenues could be really significant. And so, we can also muse about other locations, but the item before us is a simple text amendment
Sorry,
to make it easier for them to move into Forest Park.
I'm sorry, you missed my point. I just was saying that we've had permitted use and that hasn't expedited anyone coming into those areas. My question was only, we have the controls in place now to limit the number of establishments that come to the downtown business district. But we also are talking about how desperately we need money, right? So why would we sort of handcuff ourselves to just one location if a second opportunity presented itself and it made sense and it was in a good location, but we have one establishment. We can't have a second one because, we've changed the ordinance. Like, to me, it seems like, why are we changing this when we have all of the controls we need right now to carefully monitor so that there aren't too many, but to not hamstring us from potentially getting a second one in a year or two, which will generate much needed revenue? That's my question.
Commissioner Maxim?
I know the mayor already mentioned this, just a reminder that this was a recommendation that did come from the PZC. So they voted on this text amendment previously. It just hasn't come to us yet to make the final vote on this text amendment. So, if that makes any difference, the planning zoning, committee said, yeah, we like this idea. We think this is a good move to make this permitted in the DBD. And, not to speculate economically, but I think that, a second dispensary, close to one that already exists would probably sort of split, the sales instead of creating a whole second, ×2 amount of revenue for the village would be my guess, not an expert. So, I don't think that we would be handcuffing ourselves necessarily in terms of revenue. And we could reverse this later on if we decide that this is, if there's, people knocking down the door and wanting to, fill up Madison Street with dispensaries, which probably isn't something we would want anyway. So, it's not, I think there's a couple different things at play here.
So, but to answer your question, why are we hamstringing ourselves? We're not really hamstringing ourselves. By making this text amendment, we're actually opening the door to euphoria coming to Forest Park, number one.
Doors open now.
It's highly unlikely that a second dispensary is going to want to come in this small area, but by creating this text amendment and then also the amendment to the amendment, it provides sort of an incubation period for us to see how this works out. So we're limited to one in the DBD. And if we find that another company wants to come in, then we can engage in those discussions. But for right now, what we're doing makes it very attractive to the applicant that's in front of us right now.
I have one final question.
Mr. Vogt?
We're all on board and want them to come here. We're welcoming them. It simply states that conditional use has to come before the council and then it'll be approved. Why do we need to change this to stop that from happening? Like, I don't think any of us would vote against that. So why are we doing backflips on something that the ZBA said go full permitted use? Your amendment wasn't from the ZBA, that's yours. So you're changing that to one. When we have all of the tools we need in place right now to welcome a new business, but still provide a level of oversight. Like, why do we want to remove that oversight?
There's still going to be oversight. But this is the amendment that's been proposed by the ZBA, excuse me, the PZC.
No.
It's been amended on the floor. Oh, it's been amended on the floor. And so this is what we have before us. And, it kind of fits where we are today. That's really why we're doing it. And so at this point, if there are no other comments or questions from the commissioners, the chair will call a vote on the amendment to the main motion. Mr. Burns?
Aye.
Oh, no, I'm not call. I thought you had a comment. I'm sorry. The clerk will take the roll. I don't take the roll.
Vanessa has to. So just a quick comment. So I mean, in these types of matters, it's like as elected officials, I look at, the experts or the recommendations from their end, and, we have a memo and public comment from the chamber. And I mean, it seems reasonable and it seems kind of black and white. If this is going to make, like I said, we've been waiting around for this for a while. So if this is going to make it easier for this business to come to town, then I just say, what are we doing? Let's just do it. We're all for it anyway. Let's just do it and move on.
Okay, so the first vote is on the amendment to the main motion. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Burns,
Aye.
Commissioner Maxim,
Aye.
Commissioner Nero,
Aye.
Commissioner Vogt.
Is this the amendment?
The amendment.
Yes.
No.
Mayor Hoskins,
Aye. Okay, so the amendment to the main motion has been adopted. As it stands, we have a motion before the council that will make cannabis dispensing organization a permitted use in the DBD. In this case, the location is 7432 Madison Street. I kind of described the building earlier, not the building itself, but the operations. I indicated that there will be a number of safeguards installed, cameras, vaults. They have a very sophisticated delivery system. They take a lot of security precautions. So if there's no further discussion, the chair will entertain a vote on the main motion.
Commissioner Burns,
Aye.
Commissioner Maxim,
Aye.
Commissioner Nero,
Aye.
Commissioner Vogt.
No.
Mayor Hoskins.
Aye.
So this is. No, it's one ordinance, ordinance O-05-23.
Okay, commissioners, the next item is an ordinance approving Vigilant Solutions proposal for police department license plate reader cameras. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Burns. Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been seconded by Commissioner Maxim. Discussion? Okay, there's no discussion. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Burns,
Aye.
Commissioner Maxim,
Aye.
Commissioner Nero,
Aye.
Commissioner Vogt.
Aye.
Mayor Hoskins.
Aye.
This is ordinance O-06-23.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Commissioners, next item is an ordinance approving the village's Forest Park 50/50 sidewalk replacement program. Is there a motion?
Nero will make that motion.
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Nero. Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been seconded by Commissioner Vogt. Discussion?
It was an ordinance.
Sorry.
Yep. Commissioner Burns,
Aye.
Commissioner Maxam,
Aye.
Commissioner Nero,
Aye.
Commissioner Vogt.
Aye.
Mayor Hoskins.
Aye.
This is resolution R-09-23. 09.
Commissioners, next item is an ordinance approving an agreement with the Illinois Secretary of State's office. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Maxam. Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been seconded by Commissioner Burns. Discussion? Okay, there's no discussion, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Burns,
Aye.
Commissioner Maxam,
Aye.
Commissioner Nero,
Aye.
Commissioner Vogt.
Aye.
Mayor Hoskins.
Aye.
This is resolution R-10-23.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Commissioners, next item is a resolution approving a local public agency joint funding agreement with IDOT for let construction work and engineering services agreement with Burke Engineering regarding certain improvements to the Van Buren parking lot in Harrison Street. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Vogt. Is there a second?
Nero second.
It's been seconded by Commissioner Nero. Discussion?
And just point of clarification here, the language was a little misleading there for me. It said Van Buren Street parking lot and Harrison Street improvements, but we're really talking about the covered bike parking facilities. Isn't that right? Okay. Thank you.
All right. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Burns.
Aye.
Commissioner Maxam,
Aye.
Commissioner Nero,
Aye.
Commissioner Vogt.
Aye.
Mayor Hoskins.
Aye.
This is resolution R-11-23.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Commissioners, next item is a resolution in support of an application for a rebuilding American infrastructure with sustainability and equity, or RAISE grant application for the Harlem Avenue multimodal bridge project. Is there a motion?
Yes, sir. Nero will make that motion.
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Nero. Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been seconded by Commissioner Vogt. Discussion? You have a question, Commissioner Maxim?
No, I just have a comment. I love the partnership with Oak Park and River Forest. You know, most of the stuff we do is on our own because we're dealing with Forest Park specific things, but it's kind of great when we can do a project with our neighbors.
Any other questions? Commissioner Nero, you have something?
No.
Okay.
Just
Yeah.
pumping it up, man.
We've been working on this one for a long time. This goes back to 2008.
Long time.
When I was a first term commissioner, we were looking at this project.
Yeah.
All right, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Burns,
Aye.
Commissioner Maxam,
Aye.
Commissioner Nero,
Aye.
Commissioner Vogt.
Aye.
Mayor Hoskins.
Aye.
This is resolution R-12-23.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Okay, this is not something that requires a vote. We want to have some comments and thought-provoking discussion from our village administrator seeking policy direction. Moses.
Mike.
The item that was just voted on pertained to the grant application for the Harlem Avenue Viaduct. It's a $35 million project. The proposed grant is a federal grant. The federal portion would be 80%, and then 20% would fall on the local agencies. A similar grant was applied for back in 2019. There's a couple of example letters that are in the packet that when you apply for a grant, the the federal agency administering the grant wants to see a commitment from the local agencies about their funding share. I know it's tough and we really don't want to commit future boards and councils with encumbrances, financial encumbrances, where we need to figure out what we're paying for. But it doesn't need to be specific. It's, we will continue to seek grants for our local portion, should we have exposure. So will our neighbors. The memo indicates that in an 80-20 split, if we go by the current 2008 intergovernmental agreement, our potential exposure is $2.5 million. That's a local responsibility that, I'd like to utilize our existing Brown Street TIF monies for. At the same time, the numbers that are in there, we have not engaged IDOT yet because it is an IDOT road on what their share would be. Similar to the 2019 effort, I wanted to make sure that the council would be okay that, not committing TIF funds, not committing general fund monies, not committing VIP, that we would do our part to seek out opportunities to pay for our local share should we have exposure, which is potentially 25% of the 20% local share that would be required. Right now, the 2008 intergovernmental agreement has Oak Park paying half. We get a quarter and River Forest is a quarter. So I just wanted to make sure the council was okay with me just sending a letter saying, not very specific of not committing certain funds. We would be willing to pay our share of whatever ends up being our responsibility. Again, this is something that we do have a fund balance in our Brown Street TIF that we would like to utilize as part of our TIF extension, because we know that if we do not get this federal grant, potentially our $2.5 million responsibility could be more. So any questions about that or?
Yeah, I mean, the project in and out of itself is, look at the location. It's one of the gateways to Forest Park, right? I mean, how long we've been talking about that project? For a long time. So, I mean, fixing and beautifying and increasing the height there to allow for larger vehicles to go through just seems like the right thing to do. And it's obviously been sitting on the books for a while. So going out and trying to find sources to pay for the 25% seems like the right thing to do, sir, in my opinion.
So you're correct. The project would entail raising the bridge as it currently does not meet federal standards. And it'll also improve traffic flow in the area. We would have a 5th dedicated left turn lane for southbound traffic. The center median would go. And I believe there's medians on either side as well, and it will be an open bridge. So it'll help with traffic flow. But again, the question's unknown. I mean, we want to seek out federal sources because this is a big ticket item.
It is a big ticket item. And to Commissioner Burns's point earlier, you talked about a large development occurring where CVS is and Dunkin' Donuts going. That traffic snarl up is what hinders development at that location, right? It would be hard to bring big machines in there, and the traffic is so bad that those kinds of things do halt development. So. Does anyone object to the council or to Moses sending the letter indicating that Forest Park will pay its share of the agreement? Okay, Moses.
All right, thank you.
Okay, Commissioners, next item is a resolution approving the purchase of extraction equipment by the fire department. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Oh, sorry.
Hey, I'm fire department.
Something's in the air. I don't know what it is.
So it's going to be moved by the Commissioner for Accounts and Finance. And it'll be seconded by Commissioner Vogt. Discussion? Okay, there's no discussion. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Burns,
Aye.
Commissioner Maxim,
Aye.
Commissioner Nero.
Aye.
Commissioner Vogt,
Aye.
Mayor Hoskins.
Aye.
This is ordinance O-07 23.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Commissioners, next item is a resolution approving the paramedic billing contract. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Burns. Is there a second?
Nero will make that second motion, sir.
Okay, it's been seconded by Commissioner Nero. Discussion? Okay, there's no discussion, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Burns,
Aye.
Commissioner Maxim,
Aye.
Commissioner Nero,
Aye.
Commissioner Vogt.
Aye.
Mayor Hoskins.
Aye.
This is ordinance O-08 23.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Commissioners, next item is a motion to approve the appointment of the following two individuals. Megan Hunt to the Rec Board for a term to expire in 2026, and Bridget Lane to the Traffic Safety and Commission for a term to expire in 2024. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Vogt. Is there a second?
Nero will second.
It's been seconded by Commissioner Nero. Discussion.
Just one thing. We still just have two more now. Thank you, Megan Hunt, for volunteering and joining the rec board. We just have two more seats to fill there.
They're not here. All right, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Burns.
Aye.
Commissioner Maxim,
Aye.
Commissioner Nero,
Aye.
Commissioner Vogt, Mayor Hoskins.
Aye. All right, Commissioners, next item is approval of the housing forward use of public property requests for the fundraiser on February 17th. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
It's been moved by Commissioner Vogt. Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been seconded by Commissioner Maxim. Discussion?
Yeah.
Commissioner Maxim.
So this is a really cool project between it's a Housing Forward is doing a sleepover on it's going to be on the Altenheim property. And it's sort of run by Eric Crumry, who owns Play It Again Sports in town. And he's on the board of Housing Forward. So he's raising money. He's sleeping overnight on February 17th outside in a box. And he's raising money for the homeless veterans program for Housing Forward. So if you go to Housing Forward's website and you click on Sleep Out for Change, there's a link to donate for this initiative, and all the money goes directly to Housing Forward homeless veterans program. And I will also be sleeping over the night of the 17th. So I'll be out there too. It's going to be a low of only 20, so it's not too bad. If anyone's interested in joining, let us know as soon as possible so we can make sure we have enough big boxes that are being donated by Grand Appliance. So it's going to be a good night.
So since it's so warm, should we bring like Cass water system and let it be a polar bear plunge too, so they can have like a double fundraiser?
Sounds good.
Okay. That's another attempt at levity. Okay. All right. Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Burns,
Aye.
Commissioner Maxim,
Aye.
Commissioner Nero, Commissioner Vogt,
Aye.
Mayor Hoskins.
Aye. All right, next up is approval or ratification of mayor's execution of senior trip contracts. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Maxim. Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been seconded by Commissioner Burns. Discussion? Okay, there's no discussion. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Burns,
Aye.
Commissioner Maxim.
Aye.
Commissioner Nero.
Aye.
Commissioner Vogt.
Aye.
Mayor Hoskins.
Aye. Commissioners, the last item under new business for this evening is a motion to ratify the issuance of a raffle license application for the group known as 209 United. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Maxim. Is there a second? It's been seconded by Commissioner Nero. Discussion? Okay, there's no discussion. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Burns.
Aye.
Commissioner Maxim.
Aye.
Commissioner Nero.
Aye.
Commissioner Vogt.
Aye.
Mayor Hoskins.
Aye. Okay, so that concludes our new business for this evening. We're at Administrator's Report. Moses? Okay, you've had enough floor time tonight? All right. Commissioner Burns? Mr. Maxim?
I have a few things. Just to reiterate, I'm really excited about the Sleep Out for Change. And I encourage everyone to, check it out on Housing Forward's website. It's a really great initiative. And I'm serious, if anyone wants to join us out there Friday night, please let me know. I am meeting this week with a few of us from the village. I'm meeting this week with Proviso Township Mental Health Commission to talk about plans for the Mental Health Expo that we have coming up May 6th and the partnership that we're doing with Proviso Township Mental Health Commission. I'm really excited about that. And third, the Altenheim Advisory Committee met last Monday. They're kind of in the process of wrapping up the work they've been doing and putting their finishing touches on some recommendations. I've said this so many times before, but I'm really impressed with the outstanding caliber of every single one of the members and what they bring to the table. If you haven't been to a meeting, I highly recommend coming to the next one, which is potentially the last one, I think. They're really amazing people. The committee feels really confident that they've done the research that they need to do and learned about the property and are ready to land the plane, to quote one of the members of the committee. So the recommendations after the final meeting will eventually go to the village council, which will decide how to present those plans to the public, what public input is desired, and what the next steps will be. So that's all going to be determined at a later date. And that is all I have for tonight. Thank you.
Do you have a date for that meeting? Is it set?
I don't off the top of my head. I'm sorry.
We're going to give you the
Oh,
date. Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Nero?
Yes, sir. Just a quick shout out to Christopher Burke Engineering, Mr. Jim Emilio. Nice job. Thank you for taking the time to put together our 3-year infrastructure plan. I thought, and also taking the time to sit with us and answer all of our questions. You were a very patient man. Thank you. Good work.
Commissioner Vogt?
I have nothing.
Commissioners, just to follow up, this past October, we had a press conference in the CTA parking lot with personnel from the Cook County Sheriff's Office. It was facilitated by one of our state representatives, LaShawn Ford, and the topic was to address some of the CTA issues, the number of runs to that location, the Blue Line station, that our fire department has to respond to, some of the medical concerns there, the drug use, the homelessness, et cetera, et cetera. I think everyone knows that the CTA approved a new budget recently where they added 1.8 million to the budget to address, homelessness issues and provide social workers on the CTA trains. It may have been in part due to us, raising the issue. They never came to us and said, hey, we're putting in the money because you all raised the issue. But, we did hold the press conference and Representative Ford, I think, did some of his follow-up work. And so in any event, we're happy that they're spending more money to address homelessness. Last week, I spoke to one of our lobbyists with the West Central Municipal Conference, and we talked about the need of the village to be able to recoup its costs for responding to uninsured patients. And so Chief Shepetto was good enough to quantify, the last 3 years of lost revenue. We've sent that information to Representative Ford. We've sent that information to the lobbyist for WCMC. And we will be working with our allies in Springfield to see if the village can get some relief. When I initially described to him what we wanted, he says, well, everyone's trying to get reimbursed for uninsured patients. But everyone who's trying is not a 14-person town that's responding to one of the busiest train lines in Cook County. So we think we can make the case. And we're also going to work real closely with the legislative leaders who happen to represent Forest Park. So that's what I have to report this evening. And at this time, the mayor will entertain a motion to adjourn into closed session pursuant to 5 ILCS 120/2C2 to address collective bargaining matters. Is there a motion?
Nero will make that motion.
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Nero. Is there a second?
A second.
Okay, it's been seconded by Commissioner Burns. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Burns,
Aye.
Commissioner Maxim,
Aye.
Commissioner Nero. Commissioner Vogt.
Aye.
Mayor Hoskins.
Aye. We stand adjourned. We're going into closed session. We will not be returning to open session tonight. Thank you.
I'm surprised.